A horrifying story of a flight attendant and the miracle of St. Luke, the Bishop of Crimea, the doctor. This is one of the icons that I made of him. I tried to make it look like him from his pictures. Now, many of you don't know of him, but he was a doctor in Russia, which is part of it today is Ukraine, Simferopol in Crimea. He was born April 14, 1877. He was a doctor of medicine, professor, state prize winner, and he was the Archbishop of Simferopol in Crimea since 1944, serving as Archbishop, also practicing as a surgeon, and taught and published many books. He was announced a saint in November of 1995 by the Ukrainian Orthodox Church. He was born as Valentin Voyno-Yasensky, 1877, in Kerch, and his families were civil servants to Lithuanian and Polish kings. The family was impoverished, but over time St. Luke remembers that he received his religious inheritance from his pious father and his grandfather. He had an outstanding secular training. He had exceptional drawing abilities. He graduated at the Kiev Academy of Fine Arts, then he decided to become a doctor. In 1903, at the age of 27, he graduated from Vladimir Medical School, University of Kiev, and worked as a local district physician. Out of compassion to the blindness that beggars were experiencing due to trachoma, St. Luke studied ophthalmology. In a very short time, he acquired a significant amount of ophthalmologic training. And another important event was his marriage to his wife Anna, who was a nurse. They had 4 children together. The family was transferred frequently to various regional healthcare facilities from the very beginning. Valentin never requested funds from his patients, nor would he turn away anyone because of his ethnic background or personal beliefs. When his wife died of tuberculosis, which was of course rampant at the time, God, in setting the path for Valentin's sainthood, provided family with a nurse who was a widow, Sophia Zervegnia, who would be the joyful surrogate mother of his 4 children during the harsh times ahead. Valentin never remarried. During his early career, he published many scientific treatises and eventually became the head of surgery and professor of surgery at a hospital in Tashkent in 1917. In October, Lenin took over the government. Civil war erupted. Lenin's government disfavored any religious witness. Valentin was under constant threat, especially when treating party members, but he refused to operate under any circumstances without the icon of the Mother of God. His results were outstanding. Now, the sum of the introductory comments from the memoirs of St. Luke were kept by his secretary. Despite dangers from the Lenin regime, he fearlessly attended the theological discussions by archpriests, and during his period when clergymen and pious people would prove their faith in blood, Providence led the archpriest to invite Valentin to the priesthood. Thus, in 1921, at the age of 44, he was ordained a priest, and for 2 years, exceptional individual was active not only as priest, but also in public and scientific activity as a doctor. And he said to the public prosecutor, "I cut people to save them, but why do you cut their heads off?" Now, he had many exiles towards Siberia, even in prison there. He lost his eyesight. That's why one of his eyes looks in a direction separate from the other eye, as we'll see coming up. But after his death, he even foretold of his passing. We've seen many miracles. I'm going to talk about one here, then I'll talk about something that happened that I was a witness to. So the horrifying story of this flight attendant from Cyprus who suddenly saw her life slip through her hands as recorded in the book Quick to Help: The Miracles of St. Luke Today. It was the summer of 2008 when all of a sudden a fever and a slight weakness rapidly developed into sepsis into this flight attendant from Cyprus. What happened while the doctors were expecting the fatal outcome? She says, "My name is EX, 37 years old, from Morphou, Cyprus, now resident of Limassol, Cyprus. My job is as a flight attendant and an Italian teacher. On Sunday morning, June 28, 2008, I woke up early and felt a little weak. I had a slight fever, decided to go to the polyclinic to get an injection to make it go away quickly because I had planned to go to a trip to St. Marina of Andros Island in Greece with my mother." Now, there are a lot of Cypriots who come to Andros for pilgrimages. "On Monday, June 29, I was not feeling any better, decided to visit the polyclinic again because the time of the trip was pressing and I would not have time. At the polyclinic, the doctor who examined me was my mother's doctor. He did some tests on me, but he couldn't find out anything except for a slight fever and cramps that I was feeling. So for precautionary reasons, he decided to keep me in the clinic for testing despite my refusal. I even said to him, can't I go on the planned trip and then stay in the hospital after I come back? His answer was negative, even though I didn't seem to have anything significant except for some weakness and cramps. The next day, Tuesday, June 30th, my daughter-in-law's mother visited me and gave me a paper icon of St. Luke the doctor. I didn't recognize who the saint was, and I put it under my pillow. On Wednesday, July 1st, my condition worsened. They did a CT scan, which showed an infection in my abdomen. During the examination, I could clearly see 4 eyes watching me. I tried to see better, to make out a face, but I couldn't. After the examination, they took me to the intensive care unit, and I even got into a fight because I lost the icon of St. Luke the doctor. My daughter-in-law gave me another one, but the previous one was also found on my back. It was stuck on my back. So I held them both tightly in my hands. Thursday, July 2nd, 2008, dawned, and the infection had progressed to my lungs. So on Saturday, the doctors were unable to find out what the infection was from, nor to treat it despite the strong antibiotics. They had me completely destroyed. They decided to operate on me. The sepsis was progressing rapidly, and they said that I would die by the evening. Even I, despite my suffering, felt that I would be fine. With the icons in my hand, I entered the operating room and gave them to the anesthesiologist to take care of during the operation. They removed my gallbladder, which ultimately had nothing to do with it, and I fell into a coma for 3 days. My condition was very serious, and everyone expected the fatal outcome. The doctors gave my family no hope because the sepsis was rapid, and I had no lungs left to breathe with, and yet the miracle happened when everything seemed to be over. On the third day, Father P., and I happen to know who this is Father Paisius, who is today the abbot of the Sagmata Monastery, where they have a chapel of St. Luke, the first one in Greece. So on the third day, Father Paisius, obviously, and I know him, and he's very charismatic, bringing with him a small part of the heart of St. Luke. He made the sign of the cross over with the saint's little heart, and as they told me, I blinked my eyes at that moment and woke up. From that moment on, my body began to react, and the sepsis subsided out of nowhere. Eventually, I was completely cured. For the doctors, it was inexplicable, and those who are faithful admitted that it was a miracle. The rest tried to give a scientific explanation, but they were unable to give a convincing answer. While I was in the hospital, they brought me and I read a book with the life of St. Luke, the physician, and my physician in this case, and I felt that he had the helpers of St. Cosmas and Damianos, the doctor saints, then I felt I understood why they were watching me July 1st, in the CT scan, it was their feast day. And he was St. Luke's right hand in the operating table, the operating room. My daughter-in-law's aunt was in Veria of Greece that day at the Dovras Monastery. They made a request, and the elder told her that St. Luke, together with St. Cosmas and Amianos, the charitable doctor saints, would be with me. And this is from EC, from Limassol, Cyprus. And the source is Archimandrite Nectarios Andronopoulos, abbot of the Sagmata Monastery, from the book Quick to Help, The Miracles of St. Luke Today. So Father Nectarios Andronopoulos he used to be the abbot of the monastery of Sagmata. He is now the bishop of Naplius. And the abbot of Sagmata Monastery is now Father Paisius, Father P, who was in Cyprus, obviously, with a part of the relic of the heart of St. Luke, and made the sign of the cross over this lady and caused her to become well. Now, the other miracle, which I was obviously a witness to, one of our cleaning ladies used to come for us to help us every Tuesday and Friday, and she liked to really get up high and clean things, but in another lady's house, she fell off the ladder and she cracked her head. She had a concussion on her head. And the doctor told her to stay in bed for 30 days, for a whole month, because it was so bad. So after she came to me again, after she got better, she said it was very strange, because at one point she had a dream that this man came to her. He told her he would cure her. And she asked him, "Who are you?" And he said to her in Russian, he says, "I'm Luke. My name is Luke." And then she said to me, but he was very strange. One eye was pointing that way, the other eye was pointing the other way, as we see here. And he lost his eyesight in one eye because of the very bad conditions that he had in one of his exiles in Siberia, in the gulags. So he cured her. And then I got up from our coffee that we were having during her break, and I said, "Is this him?" I showed him a picture of him. And she said, "That's him." I said, "Get up, we're going to the Sagmata Monastery, because this is St. Luke, the Bishop of Crimea, and he obviously is the one who cured you." And she didn't even ask him, she didn't even know of him. He just appeared to her and told her, "Don't worry, I'm going to cure you." And she was here in Greece. Her children, she was working as a cleaning lady, and she was divorced, and she was supporting her 2 children, sending money back to them for, livelihood. So this was one of the miracles that I was witness to of St. Luke of Crimea, who used to be a doctor. Please leave your comments. Thank you for your support. And today was his feast day. It's annually June 11. God bless you, and thank you for your support. Please support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support, and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.